Guys, and welcome back for another tutorial. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make this really cute car seat poncho, or just a regular poncho. Doesn't really matter. It's not specific to a car seat, but this is the purpose that I am making it for. So let's get straight into it. So I will be using a circle skirt pattern to make this poncho, and to figure out your circle skirt pattern I will leave all that information on how to make one at my blog, so you can check those links. I'll probably direct you over to someone else's blog on how to exactly make it, just because it's a little complicated. I'm not very good at math, so I'm sure someone else can explain it better than I can, but I did measure the circumference of my daughter's neck, and then I measured from her neck to where I wanted the poncho to go to get the length. So very simple once you figure it out. As you can see, I used like many pieces of paper, and I just taped it all together to get a big giant piece, and then I cut out the circle skirt. So it'll be one giant circle because I cut it on the fold, and I also cut out the lining fabric, which was a gray fleece. So I have two of the circle skirt patterns. So this is the hood pattern, and to get the hood pattern I actually took her sweaters and I put it on a piece of paper, and I just drew around it, adding a 1/2 inch seam allowance. And that's how I got my pattern. So I'm just going to lay the pattern onto my fleece doubled up, because I'm going to have two pieces of the hood in the main fabric, and then I will also be using a gray fabric as my lining, so I made two pieces in the lining fabric as well. And also with that circle skirt, I'm not sure if I mentioned to make sure you have a lining and then a main fabric. So the first thing I'm going to do is work on the hood, and I'm going to sew a 1/2 inch seam allowance along the curved edge, which is the seam that will go down the center of their head to their back. And I'm just going to do that quickly for both sides, making sure that they're right sides together. For this fleece in particular, the checkered fabric actually seemed to have a nicer finish on one side, so I went with that. With the gray I didn't really find there was a difference, so I just put it together. So here is the finished seam, and I'm going to flip them right sides out and then lay those seams that you just sewn together, and then line up the edge of the fabric all the way to the end, and then you're going to sew along that edge. So by doing this, you're actually going to be making the hood completely inside out, which is great because then you're not going to see any of the raw edges. So now I'm just going to sew all the way along that edge. I do start in the middle where the seam is, that center seam, just because I find that lining those up and then sewing straight from there makes it line up better in the end, because if I were to start at the one end and then go all the way around, then the fabric would shift, and I'm not crazy about pinning and stuff. So okay, so now you have one giant hood, and the seams line up very nicely. So now I'm just going to stick the gray hood into the checkered hood, lay it nice and flat, and then we are going to do a top stitch along the hood, and that's just going to keep the fabric staying down and not, just going to keep it nice. Makes it look nice, makes it look professional if you plan on selling these. A lot of the mommies on Facebook these days are talking about these car seat ponchos because it is not safe to put your child in a car seat with a big giant coat on, because it creates space between your child's body and the straps. So they decided that putting them into the car seat with no coat on and then putting a poncho over top of them keeps them warm and also safe at the same time. So here's the circle skirts, technically, and I just laid them right sides together on the floor, and now I'm going to sew the hood in. So I just stuck the hood into the small circle, making sure that the checkered fabric of the hood touches the checkered fabric of the skirt, and then the gray fabric of the hood touches the gray fabric of the skirt. And then I'm just going to make sure all 4 layers are together, and then this is where I'm going to use my sewing clips to clip it together, and then just clip that whole entire circle, and then we're going to do a seam around that whole edge. And this is going to be sewing it inside out again, and this will hide all those raw edges of your hood inside the poncho so that you don't have to see them. If you wanted to make the poncho portion inside out, you could do that and then attach the hood after, but like I said, you would have the raw edges showing of the hood, so I didn't want that, so this is how I did it. Okay, so now I'm just going to sew along that edge, making sure that when I get to the hood that I see 4 layers under my presser foot. Okay, so now that that is done, I'm going to take the gray fabric and just bring it through the hole. And then I will be done with the hood. The hood will be completely attached, so that's completely done. And then we're going to work on the seam along the bottom of the poncho. So as you can see, I think it looks really nice and, you know, tucked away inside the poncho. You can't see any edges, and I think it looks beautiful. So I'm sure you're asking, well, how are you going to do the bottom edge of the poncho? There are many ways to do it. You could, because it is fleece, just do, you know, a stitch around the whole entire bottom and maybe cut like some little tassels, you know, just cut up a couple inches all the way around it. You could totally do that, and it could be like little decor. But I'm going to fold in each of the fabrics, and then I will be doing a 1/4 inch seam allowance around the whole entire thing, and that's just going to sew it up. So it will take a little bit of time, but you know, if you pop in a movie or something like that, just relax, you won't even realize. I don't even think it took me more than 15 minutes anyways. So I'm just going to do the whole entire perimeter of the poncho, and the fabric might not line up just because of all the other stuff you did to it, so I do recommend laying the poncho down on the floor, flattening out the whole entire skirt just to make sure that the circles are lining up. So as you hem it, then you might have more skirt in areas. So okay, so now I'm just going to do a stitch all the way along that whole perimeter, and then you will be basically done. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, give me a thumbs up, comment down below if you have any questions. Don't forget to subscribe and check over at my blog to see more information, links to the things I used, also how to make that circle skirt pattern. And also follow me on my Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. I would love to see if you make a poncho for your children. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye guys!